Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We will begin now on page 660. 660.
Thank you.
We finished 660. We'll begin in 661. Last lesson, the first part of chapter 43, the rabbi is talking about fear or respect for God. There are two types, but they are the prerequisite for serving God. If someone wants to create the fertile ground to plant seeds for connecting to God, there must be the respect for God. You have to weed out so that all the nutrients in the ground can connect to the seed. This is what the rabbi was speaking about until now. In this lesson, hopefully we'll finish the chapter, the rabbi is talking about love of God. The rabbi will concentrate about two types of love. To make it easy to connect, I will connect it to our day-to-day life relationship. And in addition, the next few chapters, literally until chapter 50, the rabbi is going to speak about love and different ways of connecting. Everything the rabbi says that applies to between us and God, I believe most of it can apply between us and other people, and other fellow human beings. The rabbi is going to talk in this chapter about two types of love. One we call ahavah rabbah. Rabbah means great. Rav is great, not rabbi. Rabbi is Rav too, but Rav, yesh li Rav. When Esav was offered a gift by Jacob, he says, I have plenty. Rav also means, by the way, the word Rav, same spelling, two letters, resh bet, means a rabbi, a teacher. Rav means also fighting, to fight. Riv or Rav is someone who is fighting. And Rav also means plenty. Harbe in Hebrew is a lot. It's from a Rav, a large mixture, a large mix of multitude. Multitude, mixed multitude. Multitude is Rav. That's what Arab Rav comes from. So when I say Rav, Rabbah, it's a lot. This is one type, the deepest, greatest type of love. I would call it in modern day ecstasy. The greatest love that let me forget about everything, pain, relationship, connection, desires, nothing holds when you have that type of love. In fact, the rabbi will speak about it, that it's a gift that comes from above. Our relationship to God, that level is a gift from above. The second type of love the rabbi is going to speak about is ahavat olam. Ahavat olam is a type of love that we can create with meditation. If I meditate, I will be able to find love and relationship with God. Next chapter, I'm giving you a heads up, the rabbi is going to say that within those two, there are so many levels. In other words, if I experience ahavah rabbah and you experience ahavah rabbah, it may not be the same. As human beings, our personalities are different, and therefore our relationship with God, with others, are based on different parts, and therefore it will be different on different levels. There are some on the starting level, some on the advanced, some are all the way up. But I am going to share with you that there are in general 5 types of love. Instead of asking you and quizzing you, but I would like to get your input. The first 2 I shared with you, there is one that we call ahavah rabbah, great love, ecstasy. The second type of love we call ahavat olam, a love that I awake after contemplating, investing, and working hard. The next type of love I want to talk about very briefly is what we call ahavat chaim. We have a natural inborn desire to live. I love my life. Does anyone don't love living? Those who contemplate side are people who do not have any more love towards life.
What is this called? Ahavat.
Ahavat, ahavah is ahavah, Chaim, of life.
Thank you.
So I met people who survived the Holocaust, and for 4 or 5 years, not only they were homeless, they didn't know where they're going to sleep tomorrow night because they had to hide in the fields by day, and every night they had to run to a different area because they suspected they already discovered. Yet they put all their energy and efforts into surviving. Viktor Frankl says that there was more of a mental warfare by the Nazis to make a person lose hope, lose love for life. The Rebbe was a big advocate of Viktor Frankl. The Rebbe actually advocated him and sent messengers to him, the messengers for him to continue and not give up, even though the academia did not approve of his understanding. Later in his life, they changed. Viktor Frankl says that as soon as if you have a why for a living, you will find a how. You'll find a way to live. We have a natural desire to survive. That's called ahavat chaim. I love my life, and I do not want to lose it. Does that anybody has any input into it? Nobody? Ali? No? Okay. The next one. So that's the third. The fourth level of love is a love from mother to daughter and a father to a son, parents to children. I do not want to bring in siblings because not all siblings love each other. But I can talk about parents and children. You, assuming your parents are healthy in their mind and heart, assuming you are healthy in your mind and heart, there is a bond between parents and children. I'm going to call it ahavat av leben, not necessarily male. I didn't say of male. I said av leben. Av in general refer to parents. Ben refer to children. Our love between parents and children is something that I don't need to invest. I don't need someone to prove, a parent to prove their way, and I don't need to work on it. Of course, if I go astray, I have to work on it. But naturally, allowing the person to live a life, they are drawn towards their parents. When a child comes to visit their parents, it's the happiest moment. When a child scores a great achievements, in whichever area it is, it brings joy and happiness. Why? Because the parents love their children. That's why the Mishnah teaches us, the Gemara teaches us, that a person will get jealous with anyone else with 3 exceptions. One of them is their own child. If I'm a rabbi and my child is a rabbi and he excels in the same field, the fact that he's my child, not only I'm not jealous, but I'm happy about. The same is about if I'm a doctor or I'm an accountant or I'm racing cars and my child is doing extremely well, he supersedes, he passes me, I will not get jealous. I will be extremely happy. The idea is for us to be happy for everyone, which is a great challenge. I don't know about you, I know about myself. But when it comes to children, the more achievements they have, the happier we are. Yes, Harry.
And some people, because based on what I read in the Torah, grandfather would consider his son's son as his own son.
The Torah tells us that that the grandparents have an obligation to teach Torah their grandchildren. I think I shared with you in Choshen Mishpat, in law of judgment and monetary dispute, there was a law of a grandfather told his son-in-law, study with your son Torah and I'll pay you. And the Ramah, Rabbi Moshe Isserlich, the codifier of Ashkenazic Jews, said that he did not have to pay him because the father is obligated to study Torah. And the grandfather too, that's why he wanted to excuse himself by having the son learn with his grandson. Remember that I shared that with you? But back to our discussion. The love between grandfather and grandson is not the same as a father and son. You can ask me why, I cannot explain, but always in the Torah we read about parents and children, not grandchildren. Grandparents and grandchildren love, their love is way, way deeper, I think, is expressed, but that's not a very in the core of their life. Put it in different way, and I might be wrong, but that's what I think. If a grandson or granddaughter are deprived of the grandparents' love, because the grandparents are far away or they're not around, it does not take anything out of their life. But if a father and mother's love are deprived of their children, it will impact their life forever. Do we agree on that? I knew people who lived in an orphanage because their father left at an early age. I knew in particular here, we passed away since, and the mother could not raise them, and she put them in an orphanage, and his life was forever, unfortunately, not well. You would come and see the way I relate to my kids, and you would start crying. He says, how come I wasn't lucky to have someone who loves me just by the looks? And this is a man that successfully did extremely well. He was seemingly very happy. He had everything a person can desire. But when he would see how I speak to my kids, or the kids my children look up to me, he would start crying. He would fill with tears. Why? Because he did not have that. In fact, he asked me to adopt him. He became one of my adopted children. I adopted him. And he was much older than me. He's probably my father's age or even beyond. And yet he wanted to be adopted. When I told him I'll adopt you, he was so happy. It would fill up his heart with joy. So the parents-children relationship is something that exists within us, even though grandparents and grandchildren love is there, and so at times it's a far greater. I know some children are not getting along with the parents. They will get along with the grandparents because grandparents are not that judgmental, perhaps. But if a child did not have that, there is not much missing as much as when a parent is not around to love them. So that's the fourth type of love. Harry, are you with me? And the fifth type of love, and I'm going to summarize all the five, is what we call kemaim apanim lapanim. Maim is water. Panim is face. What the Gemara tells us, kemaim apanim lapanim, ken lev adam laadam. Just like a water will reflect the face that you are looking at the water, they will reflect back, so are the hearts. If my heart is full of joy and happiness, so is my person that I'm sharing my loving heart. Let me explain. Hannah, did you get the ice cream? Thank you. So again, water is a metaphor to a mirror. Just like looking at the mirror and I see a smiley face and I look at the mirror with a smiley face, I'll get back a smiley face. If I make a funny face, I'll see back funny face. So is the human heart. When I come close to a person and I am full of love and kindness, and I really care about the person, they will sense that. How do they sense that? How does electricity travels around? How does sound wave travels around? That's the way the Torah tells us the human heart works. In fact, there are many, many stories. There was a rabbi who told the Rebbe, he came into the Rebbe, and he says that the board of directors at the synagogue, they hate him. And they always fight him and they want to get rid of him. And there is nothing he can do. Rabbis are always feel they're right, they're 100% right. There is nothing he does wrong. So the Rebbe says to him, the heart, sense the heart. Get rid of any ill feeling towards those persons, no matter what they did, no matter who is right and who is wrong. As soon as you start thinking positively and start loving them, they will sense it where they are. at a board meeting, at home, on a plane. They all sense that and shift around, change around. And that's what happens. Because if I harbor ill feeling towards somebody, it will reach that person, even though I didn't never share it with anybody. So the same is, this is the type of love. When I am in love with somebody, I share, I love someone, I feel good to be around them, to be with them, then they will sense that same love.
It's reflective.
What?
Reflective.
It's reflective. That's the verse, כמים הפנים לפנים, כן לב האדם לאדם. Just that the water will reflect back the face I show the water, so are the heart of a person to another person. By the way, it is a simple trick that people always use to diffuse hate and animosity among couples, parents and children, when they ask for one of the parties to stop hating and love internally and express it with action. It will, many times, it will reverse the whole situation. So we have 5 types of love. Number 1, I'm going to go through them again very quick. Number 1, ahavah rabbah, great love, ecstasy. Number 2, ahavat olam, ahavah towards God, that is developed based on contemplation and based on meditation. The third is the love for life, naturally desire to live life and live around, stay around. The fourth is a father to a son or parents to children. And the fifth one is the love that is reflected from a heart to heart. If I love the person, not contemplating and awakening someone, the love for somebody, I just love the person. I like him, I think he's a good person, and I think only positive, my heart will express that love to the heart of the other person, and they'll fall in love with me. The 2 more points before we start reading, because I want to cover a lot of text today. The rabbi is going to show with us that love can only be based on respect and awe first. If that is lacking, it's a shaky building. It's temporary. We studied about that before, but now we study a lot about that fear and awe must be the first, right? Remember, we spoke about which one first, which one second. Here the rabbi is talking about love itself. Love itself cannot be based unless it's like a building. You build on love, you have to have foundation. You know what's a foundation? Total respect for God. It's a very simple, it doesn't have to be Kabbalist to understand that. If I want to create a relationship with a spouse, I want to express, and I love that person, for whatever reasons, it cannot start without having full respect for that person. Only when I have respect, then I can build my life. If I love the person endlessly, without boundaries, but there is no respect, it's doomed to fail. It's not going to work, because you cannot. That's the same as with God. God says, as we'll discover, the Rebbe says, love for God with no respect and no obeying God is an imaginary love. It's not a true love. Because if there is true love, you must show respect. How do you show respect to God? Studying Torah like we do tonight and performing of the mitzvot. When I fulfill the mitzvah and I study Torah, I show that I have respect for God. Now I can start building love for God. The other point I wanted to share is that's why our forefathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, merited to be called chariot for God's throne. Anybody heard that they were the chariot? The chariot Ezekiel describes that the vision of Ezekiel are 4 legs. And the 4 legs are divided by Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. At first, the 4th one was Joseph. Later on, David took over. David is the 4th one. Anybody heard that? Harry? So who's the fourth? So I'm here to tell you that it's Yosef, but later on it was switched to King David. Okay? Yosef was the next leader after Yaakov died. And then David, Yehuda took over because they're the king. So he's the fourth. They merited to be the chariot. Chariot represent total nullification. The chariot followed the rider's instruction. They have no will on their own, no desire on their own, only because they had fear and awe of God. In other words, their love towards God, they reached the level of ahavah rabbah. Their love for God was like an ecstasy. Everything else didn't matter. There was no problem. There were no challenges. There was no hardship. There was no loss. They didn't lose anything. That's why when you look at the stories of our forefathers, you cannot but wonder, how did they survive? If I were to take a human being today and give him Jacob's challenges, they would go insane half the way. They wouldn't be able to survive. You have a brother who wants to murder you. You have to run away. You have no parents. 24 years. You marry a man that is a murderer, that is a rapist, and he's cheating you on your wife. And then you're a slave for 14 years for your own children. Then his wife dies when she's giving birth. Then his daughter gets raped. Then his beloved son finally wants to relax. His son is being taken away and he refuses. Somehow he cannot stop mourn after him. You ask her, how is a human being surviving? It's very challenging. One of the explanations is because they had ahavah rabbah. Their bond with God was so strong that it supersedes over everything. Not to minimize those challenges. Same is about Abraham and Yitzchak. Abraham, you don't read much about the tests at Abraham. Imagine someone who's blessed with a child at the old age of 100, and then 36 years later, God says to him, I want you to murder him, to slaughter him. I don't know how I'll be able to act. But because the bond with God was based on respect and awe for God, then they were able to experience ahavah rabbah. And because they had able to experience ahavah rabbah, they were able to withstand those tests. Yes, Jim.
I was going to say, it's like the concept of bitachon, which is complete trust in Hashem.
Bitachon.
Bitachon.
Trust.
Both of them like embody. And with Job too.
Job is an excellent example. Right. Thank you. So we are here on page 661. The Alter Rebbe now explains that there are also two general levels in the love of God. The higher level is called ahavah rabbah, great love. It is a gift from above, granted to an individual after he has fully attained the level of ila'ah, fear of God. This love is so lofty that one cannot hope to achieve it unaided. The only way to get ahavah rabbah is a gift from God. We cannot reach that level. The second one, and a lower level of love, is attained by contemplating God's greatness. It is called ahavat olam, eternal love. Olam is eternal. And more literally, love of the world, because it emanates from one's comprehension of the world, that is, from one's appreciation of godly life force that animates the world. It's called ahavat olam. The word olam means eternal, forever. Olam leolam va'ed. Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuto. Blessed be the name of His glory and kingdom, forever and ever. Leolam va'ed. Leolam means forever. Olam also means universe, the world. We call it ahavat olam. You know why? Because that love is created by a human being on their own, based on contemplation of how the universe works. So you look at the universe and you see that it must have a leader, must have a creator, must have someone who is checking up with the universe, makes it so perfect, and therefore must be that this great creator expects something from me, and I appreciate all that he does to make sure that I can achieve what what was expected for me. And that's why it's called ahavat olam. So again, ahavah rabbah, great love, is a gift from God. Ahavat olam is something that we ourselves create. Says the Rebbe. Now, in love too, there are two grades, ahavah rabbah and ahavat olam. Ahavah rabbah is a love of delight and ecstasy, a love of God which delights in him. There is no other desire or goal present, such as the desire to cleave to him or to expire in one's yearning for him. The love itself is comprised purely of delight in him and cleaving to him. I don't know how to describe it in any other way because I've never experienced that. But Nadav and Avihu, the two sons of Aaron, their life, their soul expired their body. They reached that level. They wanted to get to that ecstasy level. There were 4 sages in Talmudic time decided to experience that. They went into an orchard, Rabbi Akiva, Ben Azai, Elisha ben Avuya, and there was a third one. One of them died. The other one became a heretic. The third one got mad. And Rabbi Akiva, Nichnas b'Shalom, came in peace. V'yatza b'Shalom, came in peace. The only one who survived. In other words, it's a very, very powerful gift that God allows, but it's very dangerous. You got to be careful to make sure that you know how to interact with this. And it is a fiery flame that rises of itself. Man does not create or kindle this love within himself. Rather, it comes forth upon tenuously. It comes from God. And it comes from above by way of a gift to he who is perfect in fear, as is known from the saying of the rabbis of blessed memory. It is the way of the man to search for a woman, and in spiritual terms, love is called man or male, as it is written, he has remembered his loving kindness. What the rabbi is saying is, just a minute, the rabbi is saying that the Talmud is, now, you can argue and debate it, and I was thinking about it for a long time. I don't have a better explanation. The Talmud tells us that between male and female, the one to search for a partner is the male, not the female. Actively involved in searching for a partner should apply for a male, not a female. So as the rabbi is going to tell us, according to Kabbalah, male represent love, female represent fear and awe. And therefore, if I want to get love, I need for the male in the relationship between us and God. God is the male. He has to bestow it upon me. I have to accept that. And therefore, not every human being is lucky enough to be blessed by God to search for him and awaken this love. Alvin, did you have a question?
Explain to me why, if you have a gift of love, there's an element of destructiveness if you're not careful. You talked about 2 of the 3 rabbis.
If there are no boundaries, right. So we spoke before that in order, and that's what the rabbi is saying here, this great love can only come as a gift from above. It will come as a gift from above only when you create a connection. How do you create a connection? By respecting God and obeying his commandments and the Torah. In other words, plainly put, in human relations, if I want to have a healthy relationship with my children, even though I'm the father, they are the children, I need to create a set of boundaries. I respect them. I do not pull the string too much. I do not demand of them too much. I offer them reward for any time they do my wish. And I'm there for them if they need any help. Do you understand that?
Yes.
This is what we call the respect. But what if I come to a child and says, you're my child. I love you. And therefore, I want you to stay up. I want you to drive me around. I want you to give me money. I want you to attend. They're going to say no, and if they don't say no, there's something wrong with the child. The only way for a true love to exist is when respect is the foundation that came first. You understand that? In our day-to-day life today, politically speaking, children are as equal as their parents. They have a say, they decide. But that's not the way there is a relationship of a father and son, mother and daughter. But it doesn't mean that they should not be respected. It doesn't mean that their boundaries should not be assigned them. So if a child needs his own space or their own space, if a child needs more attention, if a child is asking for something, with great respect, it should be offered them. Then you have a good love. Okay, so the foundation that's hiding under the building is respect. And then you create love, you create the building. I should say that, again, under normal circumstances, you always have a child or a parent who are not well. But under normal circumstances, if the parent and child have the capacity to have respect, and they understand that this is a prerequisite, this is a foundation, they will have a very strong bond and great love between parents and children. Did I cover the basis? Back to our discussion. Back to our discussion here. If I want to have love, great love, it's a gift from God that is given to very few people. The next chapter, the rabbi is going to ask, so why are we talking about it? Most people are not granted it. And the rabbi is going to say that within this kind of love, there is many levels. And the rabbi is going to develop different loves as chapters go on. Great love, the way in general speaking, is a gift from above that God assigns only to people who deserve. What's the start? How do you open the door to get closer to great love? Respect of God. How do you show respect? Words means nothing. It has to be with commitment of time by studying Torah like we do now. It has to be with keeping God's commandments. When I do that, what happens is I show respect, not with words, but with action. Then there is a possibility. That's why the forefathers were merited to be great, to have a relationship with God and a great love, ahavah rabbah, but it started by being chariots, by being totally nullified. They served God without questions. They served God in all their might and all their ability at any given time. Now they have created a vessel where God gifted them with that great love. And the Rebbe goes on to say, just like the Talmud, this is a Kabbalistic understanding which is much deeper than what we're discussing. Between male and female, the Talmud teaches us the order of the universe. The proper way is for the male to search for the female. It doesn't mean the female shouldn't search. It doesn't mean that the female should sit home and wait for someone for a night to come on a white horse. But between the two, the one who puts in all the efforts and the one who is pursuing is the male. The female should be pursued. Do you understand that? So who is paying for dinner if you go out on a date? The male. Why? Because he's the one who is pursuing. The female should be wowed by the male, right? Is that correct? Why? If I to ask you, you'll find different explanations. This is the Kabbalistic interpretation. Because the male represents love, and therefore he needs to express the love. The female represents respect, and therefore respect draws back. And therefore, between the two, love is outgoing, extrovert. Respect is introvert, is internal. And therefore, now back to our relationship with God. God is the male. He's the one who extends himself and gives the love. But that can happen only when he takes us for a date. When we agree to go on a date, we need to create the foundation. We need to create the grounds for it, which is studying Torah, performing the mitzvot. Now, God will bestow upon us that love. If God don't want to give it to us, or God is decided not to give us, we can try. This type of love will not be awakened by us, but only from God. I hope I covered that idea very well.
There's no truth to they're saying the man runs after a woman until she catches him.
A man runs after a woman till she catches him?
So it works out.
No, it does not. Huh?
Kind of what you're saying.
No, he's not.
No, it's not.
No, he's not.
A male runs after a woman until he catches her. I got you. No, there is no truth to it. By the way, I had a challenge in explaining this, but the more I think about it, who marries who under the chuppah? Who asked whom to accept the marriage? The male is asking the female. She's not asking him, she accepts, she agrees. Male says, Arei at mekudeshet li, you're betrothed to me, b'tabad zu, with this ring, kedat Moshe v'Israel, according to Moshe and Israel's tradition. In other words, the male, if there is an exchange of rings, there's no marriage. We don't allow exchange of rings. There has to be a ring going from the male to the female. I don't have a ring because I married my wife. And by her accepting the marriage, we are married. That's why I don't have a wedding ring. And whenever I perform marriage, or any rabbi, and I'm certified to marry in the Holy Land, in Israel, the rabbis are told, many secular Jews, they want to have an exchange of rings for good reasons. So the boy should always not, they shouldn't fanfare around. So we say to them, you can give the husband a wedding band after the wedding, but not under the wedding, because the marriage goes one way. The male pursues the female. Male represent love, female represent respect, withdrawing. And therefore, if there is a connection, it has to come from the male. By the way, this is a very important lesson in relationship, which is if there is if the marriage is staggered, if it comes to a comfortable, boring,
Stagnant.
if a marriage is stagnant, who is going to be blamed? The male, because he has to pursue. He cannot say, well, why aren't you coming up with good ideas? Why aren't you waiting on me? Well, the answer is, whose job it is? The male. The male should pursue the female, not just in getting married, but afterwards. So if it gets stagnant, the blame is not on both, the blame is on him. If she wants to be active, that's okay, but between the two, it's the male's job to be active. Without while a woman symbolizes fear of God, as is known, without the prerequisite of fear, it is impossible to attain the level of ahavah rabbah. For this love originates from the realm of Atzilut, wherein there is no sundering or separateness, God forbid. I think I shared with you, explained it well. Love, the one that pursue is the male. And therefore, between us and God, God is the male. He can gift it to us. Without God's gift, it's not going to happen. Now the rabbi is going to talk about the second one. Ahavat. Ali, do you understand everything? Thank you. Ahavat olam, however, remember the world, the love that is based on contemplating the universe. The second and lower level of love is that which comes from the understanding and knowledge of the greatness of God, of the blessed Ein Sof, who fills the world, animating them with a permeating mode of vitality, which is limited and tailored to the capacity of each creature and encompasses all worlds, animating them with a vitality which transcends them, not being limited by the worlds and created beings it animates. And continue, when we contemplate the greatness of the creator of the universe who created such a beautiful universe, and he continuously animates it and brings it alive, and before him, before whom everything is accounted as nothing at all, like the nullity of one utterance within the intelligent soul, while it is still in the thought or in the desire of the heart, as has been explained earlier in chapter 20 and 21. We spoke about it before. Imagine one word in your thought before you even utter that compared to your entire life. That's the comparison between me and God. If the distance between me and God is even farther than one word that I was thinking. Remember, we spoke about 30,000 words we think a day, or we say a day. How many words we are thinking a day? So one word I was thinking, it's very little value. It's one speck of dust compared to the entire universe. That's even not as far as between God, the creator, and the created beings. And yet God is affected by my behavior. When I serve God, He's extremely happy. If I disobey God, it makes God unhappy. As a result of such contemplation, the attribute of love, which is in the soul, will, as a matter of course, divest itself of its garments, which it had previously worn. This means to say that the individual will cease loving those things that he had previously loved, the love having previously led him to vest himself in those things, and all his love will be directed to God alone. Now, instead of loving ice cream and loving going on a cruise and loving to go swimming, he's going to love God. That is, it will not clothe itself in anything of pleasure or enjoyment, whether physical or spiritual, to love it, and will not desire anything whatsoever in the world other than God alone, the source of the vitality of all enjoyments. I hope you understand what we're saying. What the Rabbi is saying is, when you contemplate and meditate on the greatness of God, and you really put yourself seriously into it, you stop loving ice cream, you stop loving cars, you stop loving other collections and other assets and other beautiful stuff, and you start loving God. And that will remove my love away from the universe and other objects to God. There is the Alter Rebbe, I believe the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, once told somebody that when a Jew is riding on a horse and buggy, he's a driver, he's an Uber driver, and he comes into a faraway village, and he walks into an inn because it's cold outside. He wants to warm himself up, and he sees the bartender has different types of drinks: beer, vodka, whiskey, cognac, whatever, tequila. And he turns to the bartender and says, "Give me a little of that." And he makes a bracha and he enjoys himself. He has taken love that he could have connected to God and invested it in that drink. Now, I cannot speak about anybody else, but for myself, I'm not in that level yet. But the true love, if we have a true bond with God, everything else is no value. It's not that important. The only way I can express it in a simple way is imagine someone is chasing a girl that he loves and he wants to be with. He wants to be with a girl, hopefully marrying her. At that moment, if you tell him there is a new Harry Potter movie that's coming, he couldn't care less. Huh?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter why. Because right. And someone says to him there is a new car that came out, or there is a new whatever collection. It means nothing. He listens to you when you talk about it because he's out of respect, out of proper matter, but he's not interested. It's not for him. It doesn't talk to him. If he was not chasing that girl, if he was not running after that girl, he would be fighting you for that Harry Potter video. You would stay in line all night waiting for the book to be sold, or a new watch, a new Apple Watch, or a new device. But if there is a love, my heart is dedicated or connected to something, everything else means nothing. I should say that our experience as observant Jews, I don't know if it's correct to share it, but I think you can benefit from it, is that we have a period of going to mikveh, the women, during the menstrual period, the time that the women still go to mikveh and on and off, During that time, there is no relationship between spouses. So it's on average about 2 weeks. It's between a minimum of 10 days, a minimum of 11 days, 2 weeks, 13, 14, 15 days, it doesn't matter. During that time, the bond is growing so closer that the day or 2 days before the female goes to mikveh, the male cannot think of anything else. Cannot think of anything else. Why? Don't ask me why. I just know sometimes when I talk to people that are young and in that, and I see you talk to them and their head is somewhere else, and I say to myself, gosh, are you going to, your wife is going to go to a mikveh tonight or tomorrow night? That's what I'm thinking, because they really cannot think of anything else. Whenever you have plans, let's go on vacation, if it's just towards the end of that period, there is no desire for doing anything other than waiting for that evening to occur so we can bond together. This is my experience, and all that I heard is other people's experience. And that's what the rabbi is saying is, if you awaken your love towards God to such a deep level, I said I'm not that on that level, but maybe people here do experience that, then you divert all your energy and love for anything else away and connected to God. So suddenly everything else don't matter anymore. Also, 665, he whose soul's attribute of love is not vested at all in any physical or spiritual enjoyment, is able to kindle his love as with burning coals and an intense fire and a flame that soars heavenward. By contemplating the above-mentioned matters, as shall be explained later on, the rabbi is going to talk about it more. What the rabbi is saying is, imagine someone has no love for anything, no persons, no objects. How can you ask him to fall in love with God? He doesn't know what love is. I don't understand how a person what kind of person it is, but perhaps they are. Says the Rebbe, it doesn't matter. If he contemplates on God's greatness and how kind God is to him, it will create love in him. And the Rabbi is going to talk about it in details. This latter category of love, ahavat olam, the love that creates form, contemplating the universe, sometimes precedes fear, according to the quality of that which fathers it, as is known, for that incorporates both chasadim and gvurot, which are love and fear. Chesed is love, and gevurah is fear. That reveals both these emotions, thus binding one's dat intensely to the greatness of God gives rise to both feeling fear and love. And sometimes the chasadim descends and manifests himself first. What the rabbi is saying is, there are exceptions to the rules. Usually you need a foundation. You need respect of God before your love of God is created. Says the Rebbe, there are times an exception takes place and you create love, a true, genuine love towards God without the respect. And the Rabbi is going to talk about it soon. In other words,
But then the respect comes.
afterwards, but it might be too late, as we'll talk about it in a moment.
Hasidim, because
Chasadim, chesed in plural.
Hasidim,
Right, not chassid. What the rabbi is going to talk about is, it may take 3 years, 5 years of respecting God, studying Torah and mitzvot, and then after contemplation, love will be awakened. Sometimes somebody will come in and straight into love, without the introduction, without the prerequisite, without the foundation of respect. And the example the rabbi is going to speak about, we're going to talk about, the rabbi is going to bring, is Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya. I'm sure, Harry, you heard of Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya? There was a man in the Tanaic times that had left Torah and mitzvot and committed every sin possible on the book. One day he found there was a woman, a low-life woman, far away from the Holy Land, and he traveled by sea to be with that woman. When he came, she says to him, you came from Israel? You guys are chosen nation. You're the chosen people. How come you lower yourself so bad, so low? He said to himself, if that person who is such a low life, have no values, no ethics, she understands that the way I conduct myself is not good. How come I didn't see that? And he runs back to the Holy Land, goes on a mountain, put his hand between his laps and start crying. He cried and cried and cried until his soul departed. You know how the soul is departed? He created a love, a bond of God, with so much regret for everything he did. And an echo came from above saying, woe to you, Rabbi Elazar ben Dodaya, son of Dodaya, yesh koneh olamo b'sha'ah achat. There is a person who buys his universe, acquires the world to come in 1 hour, in one change. In other words, he didn't need to have respect, he didn't need to have fear of God. He was able to reach the depth of love to God to the greatest degree that a human can reach on their own. Not ahavah rabbah. Ahavah rabbah is from God. Ahavat olam, he reached to such a level that the soul departed the body, and he was able to reach very close to God. This is an exception, but it's possible because love has something to it that even without the foundation you can have it, and it is in the text. Therefore, Ali, you understand what I'm saying? Harry, did you understand what I'm saying?
Perfect.
Are you familiar with the story of Rabbi Elazar ben Dodaya? Never heard that? It's a famous story in the Talmud. It's quoted in
Don't remember.
many places. Therefore, 666. Therefore, it is possible for a wicked and sinful person to repent by virtue of the love that is born in his heart at the time he remembers that the Hashem is God, the Lord is God. In other words, without respect and awe, he can create a deep love to God that will erase all his past and bond and create true love. Although up to the point of his repentance, he was wicked and lacked a fear of God, still there may be born in him a love for God that will lead him to repent, a true, genuine love. At any rate, fear, too, is included therein, in the love. As a matter of course, except that it is there in a state of minuteness and concealment, namely, as the fear of sin, of rebelling against him, God forbid, while the love is in a revealed state in his heart and mind, so that consciously the individual is only aware of love of God for God. But there is fear, except fear is concealed and is secondary. So the love of God is overflowing and taking over the person, but there must be fear. There must be respect for God. Otherwise, he wouldn't fall in love with God. Even though it just came in one moment and he repented in a split second. However, such a case where the wicked and sinful person should suddenly attain a love of God and become a penitent, where love precedes fear, is an extraordinary occurrence and an emergency prescription through God's particular providence as the occasion requires, as happened with Rabbi Elazar ben Dodaya. It's in the Talmud, who has been sinful and suddenly became a penitent, repenting out of love for God. Indeed, so intense was his penitent that it caused his soul to depart his body, as I just told you. This was an emergency prescription required for that occasion, for it is written that Rabbi Elazar ben Dodaya was Gilgul, a reincarnation soul of Yochanan the high priest, who served in the office of a high priest for 80 years and then became a Sadducee. All the Torah and mitzvot fulfilled by Yochanan were elevated through the transmigration of his soul into the body of Rabbi Elazar ben Dodaya, whose life story followed the reverse course, that of a sinner who ultimately repented out of his love for God. just very briefly, because I want to finish chapter. The rabbis are asking, Rabbi Elazar ben Dodaya have never served God. There is no mitzvah. How is it possible that he goes in the world to come, in heaven, to enjoy God? You enjoy God based on what you created here. Most Torah, most mitzvot. He didn't do any of that. The Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, the Arizal, is a Kabbalist from Tzfat, revealed that prior to him, there was another man that lived 80 years as a high priest, Rabbi Yochanan Kohen Gadol. A high priest, every year, if he had one sin, he wouldn't come back out alive from the Holy of Holies. So for 80 years, he was a perfect human being. He created so much good, so much credit, and then he became a Sadducee. He refused to obey the sages and believe in the oral Torah. And what happened? He lost everything because he died as a Sadducee. Now he acquired so much good, 80 years of goodness. What happened to it? What does God do? He allowed the soul to return back to the universe. That's called Gilgul, reincarnation, and live a life of sin. The reverse of Yochanan Kohen Gadol. And only the end of his life would be perfect. So when he goes up, he gets all the 80 years acquired by Yochanan to be awarded him, because he was a reincarnation of Elazar ben Dodai. Did you understand what I said? I'm saying it very briefly. That's part of the idea of Gilgul, of reincarnation, where we come to repair. Rabbi Elazar ben Dodai had to repair in Yochanan Kohen Gadol only the end of his life, because for 80 years he did so well. Only the end of his life he turned Sadducee, a heretic. And therefore Elazar ben Dodaya lived only the last breath of his life as a perfect human being. Now he deserved to get back all the reward. However, says the Rebbe, so in other words, what the Rabbi tells us, you cannot awaken or create love for God unless there is a foundation of respect and awe. Respect and awe is studying Torah and fulfilling the mitzvot. However, sometimes, as an emergency prescribed by God, God will allow a man to awaken love without fear first. But, says the Rebbe, there is hidden fear, there is hidden respect there, except you don't sense it because there is only love. And that will make the person repent and bond with God completely. Says the Rebbe, however, the regular order of divine service, which is determined by and depends on a man's choice, is to begin with the fulfillment of the Torah and mitzvot through the yirat hata'ah, lower level of fear, and its state of minuteness, at least, departing from evil and doing good, that is, refraining from committing any sins and performing all the mitzvot. We spoke about two levels of fear, respect and awe of God, or fear of sin. Even just fear of sin is the foundation to create love of God. So as to illuminate his divine soul with the light of the Torah and its commandments, whereupon the light of love will also shine upon it. For the word ve'ahavta, and you shall love the Lord your God, has a numerical value twice that of or, light, as is known to the students of Kabbalah. The first must come. So the word ve'ahavta, love. What does love means? It has to come first with respect and awe. The word ve'ahavta, if you convert it to numbers, you'll get the word or, aleph vav resh, which is 206, times 2 is 412. Ve'ahavta is 412. Two types of light. One light of Torah and the other light of respect and yirah. Those two lights will create ve'ahavta, so ve'ahavta, love God. How do you do love God? Obey God, study Torah, mitzvot, have fear of God and respect of God, even the lower level, and then you'll come to love God. Thus, first must come the illumination earned by the fulfillment of Torah and mitzvot, and only then can one be granted the illumination of experiencing a love of God. And this concludes chapter 43. I hope I made myself clear and you understand the gist of it. Next lesson, next week and the following week, we're not going to study. It's the eve of Passover. But in the future chapters, the Rabbi is going to delve into different types of love in details. Thank you, everybody, and good night.